on the Citizens United decision and how it's affected voting, and call us to some action. Louis?
Thank you and good evening. I hope everybody has found as much value in the information that was presented by the other panelists as I have, and I think they deserve another round of applause. So I hope everybody's enjoying the information that they've been hearing. I understand if you couldn't consider this a good time because from the sounds of things, American democracy is really at risk right now. The question is democracy for sale? And it seems as though certain portions of it have already been sold. Our promised land, where generations of struggle and toil once cultivated increasing yields of liberty and democracy, is eroding right out from under our feet. Our moral foundation is diminishing, and the principles that we hold as Americans are being sold out from under us. This is a time when our rights as Americans are being sold wholesale to multinational corporations around the globe. Thanks to the Citizens United ruling, these multinational mega corporations can anonymously spend undisclosed billions to impose their influence on each candidate and every voter in every election. Meanwhile, more recent election reform forces everyday Kansans like you and me, everyone in this room, is now forced to show approved forms of photo ID just to cast our one ballot. Do you know that next year we won't even be able to register without presenting approved proof of citizenship documents? So let's just think about that. American-born citizens have to bend over backwards to exercise their birthright, but anyone with $1 million gets the red carpet treatment. No ID necessary, no proof of citizenship required, no questions asked. And why is this? It's the same reason that the government has allowed our economy to be ransacked, our environment to be pillaged, our homes to be foreclosed on, and our schools and social services to be sacrificed for tax cuts for the rich and greedy. Our entire system, local, state, and federal, has become corrupted by the corporations and is being redesigned to facilitate corporate welfare above human welfare. We hear a lot about corporate corruption at the federal level. We know that both parties receive boatloads of money from Wall Street, big energy, and big pharma during election years. We also hear about the big banks and how they've bought off our congressional committees on banking. The same is true for the military-industrial complex and the defense committees, big pharma and the health committees, and so on and so forth for each sector. Even on the local level, we've seen the influence that big developers have had on our city council in their pursuit of constant expansion and constantly expanding profits. Not to mention the years of corporate tax abatements repeatedly given out by our city council to corporations like Boeing and Coleman, corporations who can pay their fair share and repeatedly fail to live up to their end of the deal, corporations who get what they need at our expense and then pack up and leave our schools underfunded and our workers jobless anytime the grass is greener somewhere else. And this not just at the local and the federal level, of course. We all know about our state legislature, the shenanigans that happen up there. And it's no coincidence. I mean, this is the result of corporate influence even there. This year, though, thanks to the hard work of the Center for Media and Democracy and colorchange.org, as well as countless activists and journalists from across the country, a well-concerted, well-funded corporate conspiracy to take over the country one state legislature at a time has been exposed. Does anybody know what that conspiracy is called? ALEC! The American Legislative Exchange Council. ALEC, that's right. So ALEC is an interesting concept. ALEC pairs 300 of the largest corporations in the country with 2,000 state legislators from all 50 states. That's 1/3 of the national state legislative body. And, you know, these numbers may have gone down since we've been pummeling them for the past year or so, but they're far from gone. In Kansas, ALEC has 40 legislative members. ALEC corporate members and legislative members get together at resort locations for conferences where they draft model bills together. They vote as equals to determine which of these bills will be most profitable to the corporate members, and ALEC legislative members then return home to their home states and introduce the model bills as if they came up with the idea, which I think we are starting to know better. In In fact, there was a particular instance in the state where an ALEC member legislator introduced an ALEC bill and forgot to take their header off of it. So it was real obvious then. So what kind of bills are we talking about when we're talking about ALEC? Well, one, for instance, is the voter suppression laws that are popping up all over the country, such as Kansas's SAFE Act. The anti-immigrant laws like Arizona's SB 1070 and Alabama's HB 56, as well as the anti-union laws like the one that Scott Walker introduced in Wisconsin. And even Governor Brownback's Robin Hood and reverse tax plan was ALEC model legislation. And there are plenty more. I think it's fair to say if it's bad for the 99% and on the state level, you can assume that ALEC came up with it. And they've been doing this for over 25 years, long before Citizens United. So while we talk about the need for constitutional change and for the need to take federal action against corporate influence in our politics, we have to realize that it's not just happening in Washington, D.C. It's happening in Topeka. It's happening in Kansas. It's happening right here in our state, in our city halls throughout the entire state. And so here we are. Our systems of government from the top down have been seized by the corporations. And so naturally our basic rights and democratic processes have followed. We've seen our hard-earned voter rights hacked away by state legislatures. We've seen the commons, our public spaces, our media, our public services becoming more and more privatized and out of reach of the American people. Our federal government continues to pursue a trend of sacrificing the American people's freedom of speech and privacy in the name of security while expanding the civil rights of so-called corporate persons. This is a time when money is speech, and actual free speech carries little value to those who govern us. The promise of America has been broken. But who broke this promise? While it's clear that the policies promoted by the mega corporations and the 1% amount to class warfare against the 99%, can we really give them 100% of the blame? Have the Koch brothers really broken any promises to the American people? After all, it's really not their job to uphold our rights and liberties. And in the end, they're not the ones enacting these policies. It's our so-called public servants who do the evil bidding of the greedy billionaires. It's the same politicians and bureaucrats that we've entrusted to maintain and defend our democratic processes that are gutting our nation from the inside out. It is they who have abandoned their duties to protect the American people and our values, and they've done so in favor of material gain and power. Democracy is for sale, and they're doing the selling. The people that we've trusted to defend our democracy have become the salespeople. So let's think about it. Even if the American... So let's think about this. Even if the American Legislative Exchange Council had all the corporate money in the world, would they have been able to impose their reverse Robin Hood tax plan on Kansas if it had not been for our ALEC loyal governor? No! Would they have been able to enact voter suppression laws had it not been for our ALEC-friendly Secretary of State and the 40 ALEC members in our Kansas legislature? No! So let's just make this clear. I'm not saying that mega corporations and ridiculous concentrations of wealth and power aren't a problem. I mean, it is. It's a problem. But the problem of corporate political corruption is a greater problem of accountability. Corporations buy off politicians to avoid being held accountable. They do it to avoid accountability to financial, labor, health, and environmental standards. They do it to rig the system to avoid being held accountable by the free market that they love to worship. They understand that the government is the prize because it is the only authority that the American people hold over the 1%. So while we need to hold our public servants accountable, we can't abandon our government. That's the power that we have. We have to reclaim it. Democracy may have been sold, but we can take it back. We're the ones the public servants are supposed to be working for. We're the ones that they're supposed to answer to. It's up to us to hold them accountable. That's our obligation. So we have to hold ourselves accountable as a community to put ourselves up to that, to get out in the street, to get out in the voting booth. We have to make sure that we're not only doing it in our close circles of activist friends and our close circles of political interests and political parties. We have to pull in the unlikely participants and make sure that everybody is engaged in this for this to work. Now, looking at Citizens United, if you ask me, it's the corrupted politicians who really benefit from the veil of secrecy provided by the Citizens United ruling. Thanks to Citizens United, our public servants can now receive unlimited bribe money from anonymous sources for any secret interest while keeping the American people completely in the dark. Without the active participation of everyone in this room, everyone who's not in this room, and everyone abroad, we have to make sure that without that participation, our democratic system is doomed to fail. So if things fall out from under us, if our democracy has been sold and lost, we have to look at ourselves and ask, what have we done? What have we done to prevent that? We can't expect these public servants who are tempted with all this money, with all this power, to do it for us. We have to hold them accountable. And the corporations know this. That's why they're doing everything in their power to dismantle our democracy, to get rid of our right to vote, to get rid of our right to share free information, to get rid of our freedoms of speech and our rights to confront this violation of our democracy. For a long time, a lot of young people have questioned the legitimacy of voting, whether or not it was really worth anything. As I mentioned, both sides are bought off, right? Both sides have been sold away to the corporate interest. And I was at an Occupy Wichita General Assembly, and someone said, you know, do you remember that Emma Goldman quote? If voting changed anything, they'd make it illegal. And everybody looked around. It's like, isn't that what Co-op's doing? So we have to not only, we have to not only get together and have these conversations, but we still have to take our message to our public servants. We have to take our message to the polls, and we have to vote on our consciousness. But we can't just rock the vote. We have to go out and rock the boat. We've got to go out and shake things up and make things change. Because while some people think that corporate money is speech, corporate money is speech and corporations are people, people are still people. Speech is still speech. And we need to use it. We need to match the stream of corporate dollars with a ceaseless stream of actual speech, of direct actions, of letters, of phone calls, emails, and petitions. And we have to match that with real people. And I mean real people, not just lobbyists. We have to flood our halls of government with real speech and real people until we flush out the rats that are posing as public servants. Right. And when we get them out of there, we've got to replace them with our own people. But we can't forget the corporations. As for the rats in the executive towers, let's make sure that they understand that it's in their best interest to let us occupy our halls of government. Otherwise, it'll be their places of business and homes that we occupy. If we can't take our decision-making to our halls of government, we'll take it to the street. The corporations know that, and that's why they manufactured the Tea Party. But this AstroTurf organization will never compare to the vivacious Occupy movement and to the movements represented in this room. And that's because ours is a movement of hope. While we face these challenges, we do so with hope. I can hear it in your applause. I can see it in the actions that your organizations take. Yeah, there's hope, but the hope doesn't rest in the promises of any corporate-sponsored candidate, and I'll tell you that. When people act, there is hope, and when people are willing to face the odds, there is hope. So while we must vote, we can't vote away our hope. We can't vote away our action. Voting will not do it all, but it must be done. So I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful that all of you are ready to take action. Are you ready to take action?
Yeah.
I'm hopeful, and I stay hopeful because I'm a fighter. Are you fighters?
Yeah.
And I believe you. I believe that you're ready to fight. I believe that you're ready to win. But I want to hear you say it. Can we win?
Yeah.
Can you say, we will win?
We will win.
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 But then there's that fight, right? Our victory won't be given to us. We have to pick up any slack that we have and get our act together if we are going to win. We can't just say we're going to win. We have to refuse to lose. Now, I'm ready to fight and win. Are you ready to fight and win?
Yes.
You're ready to fight and win, not just win? Are you willing to say that? That's a little radical. Can you say, we will fight and we will win?
We will fight and we will win.
We will fight and we will win. We will fight and we will win. We will fight and we will win. But it's like I said, money is speech and talk is cheap, right? So, that's a little cute, dropping the dollar in the definitely happening. But we will fight and we will win and we will start today. At the back table, there's a lot of literature on the organizations that help put this together. This isn't all we do. We're fighting every day, whether you're, with Sunflower Community Action like me, or Earth Spirit of Kansas, or We the People of Kansas. These are organizations that can engage you in this struggle. These are organizations that can give you a strategy for a victorious fight. And some folks aren't group people, some folks aren't people. And that's okay, because there's a lot of good people out there that are taking their activism into their own hands. And so if there's an organization that you don't quite fit in with, or if there's some kind of issue with working in groups and groupthink and that sort of thing, it's understandable. But you have to commit to yourself and everyone in this room that you're going to do something.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we're just in here talking, and I really hate that. Another action that we talked about earlier is one that you can commit to tonight as well. And that is to petition your city council member to adopt a resolution that will abolish corporate personhood. We want our city council to say, I wish the people of Wichita, and I'm willing to acknowledge the people of people, corporations of people. And I believe we're getting some of those passed around. There are some in the back, and what we want to do is make sure that all you have to do is fill out a little bit of information. There's already a template there, and basically it says, look, city council member so-and-so. There's also maps back there so you can identify who that is if you don't know. I think people are people. I think corporations are corporations. I want you to agree with me. I want you to declare that the people of Wichita are worth more than the interests of corporations, that you stand with us and that you'll defend our rights over corporate personhood.